Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because, let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. You know, the real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. Find the shoes that get you at prices that get your budget at DSW stores or at DSW.com. Let us surprise you.
Welcome into the first postseason edition of the show before the show from MILB.com, the official podcast of minor league baseball. My name is Tyler Mon. Sam Dykstra is in New York City. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Tyler. How are things at Thursday night? Now that I'm speaking Thursday morning.
You're speaking Thursday morning. I'm speaking Thursday night. We're doing a trans-Pacific show yet again. I guess it's like transcontinental and trans-Pacific because
it depends on which way you want to go.
All the way. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Things are good. We are into the second round of the U18 Baseball World Cup. Championship game is coming up on Sunday. Most of our fans, I would assume, are going to be most interested in the United States. The U.S. today beat Australia in their first, we call it the super round, the second round, which is the top three teams from each of the opening round groups. They advance and play each other. They cross the brackets, and then we determine the medal game participants based on head-to-head matchups and, runs scored and runs allowed and all the weird things you have to do in a short-term tournament. But the U.S. is now part of one of a kind of a group of teams at the top of the super round standings at 2-1. So they're in a good spot. Canada has basically been eliminated from medal contention. There are a couple of already drafted prospects on that team. Third baseman TJ Schofield Sam, who's an A's prospect who was drafted in the 12th round this year, and Desan Brown, who's a really, really promising outfield prospect in the Blue Jays system. I think he's their 18th ranked prospect now via MLB Pipeline. But already a couple of pro-signed guys on that Canadian team, and they are probably pushed out of medal contention now. They took a loss against Japan tonight, in which an absolute phenom pitched for Japan and ended up striking out 18 batters in 7 innings. Which is, pretty good. Japan's actually got a couple of guys on their roster that are sort of I don't want to call them the next Shohei Ohtanis because Shohei Ohtani is such a unique dude, but there have been multiple comparisons between Shohei Ohtani and Ruki Sasaki, who is kind of the main phenom on this Japan team. He's not even the one who pitched tonight. The one who pitched tonight was Yasunori Okugawa, who struck out 18 in 7 innings. Sasaki started warming in like the 5th or 6th inning of that game. He hasn't pitched yet in this tournament. He's had a blister issue. Most people think Japan's saving him for tomorrow's matchup against Korea. But he started warming, and this other dude's striking out 2 or 3 batters every inning, and then the phenom gets up, and he starts warming, and then he never came into the game. But they played Korea tomorrow, so he might go then. The U.S. squad, there is a ton of talent on that team. Guys who are basically 1 through, I think 50 is probably the lowest ranked prospect talent on the U.S. roster, but there are a lot of guys on that roster that are going to be drafted and signed, and the talent that was on this same squad 2 years ago produced 10 first-round draft picks in the 2018 MLB draft. This year's group, maybe not. That group was kind of a dream team a couple of years ago, and they all are to a certain extent, but this year's group, there's some guys to keep an eye on. Pete Crow Armstrong is an outfielder out of California who is probably the top high school prospect right now in the United States. And there's some really fun talent on all these teams, and it's been pretty good. So we're getting down close to the end of it. And then I am headed to Seoul on Monday with the radio voice of the Lancaster Jethawks, Jason Schwartz, who is here and helping out broadcasting the tournament. Jason and I are headed to Seoul on Monday. We're going to hang out there, go catch some KBO games, and then the following Friday, or a week from tomorrow, I guess I should say, the 13th, he goes home to California. I'm off to Italy for the Europe and Africa Olympic qualifier. So it's just a month of other baseball-related things and minor league postseason.
Right. Yeah, and talk to me a little bit about the KBO, because you've seen a KBO game now, right?
Yes, yeah. So I 3 years ago did the Women's Baseball World Cup at the same venue where we are, which is just outside of the second largest city in South Korea, Busan, and got to go to a KBO game, a Busan Lotte Giants game 3 years ago, and then went again last night and met up with a couple of guys who are pretty well known on the baseball tweets, but Sungmin Kim, who is a writer for Fangraphs, and Sungmin is a Seoul resident currently, and Kazuto Yamazaki, who's a writer for Baseball Prospectus, who lives in Tokyo. Those guys came down for the tournament, and we went to catch the subway. Got a little bit late to the Busan Lotte Giants game last night, but walked in. It was like the fourth inning, and I told Jason Schwartz, I was like, well, I'm with the Dodgers fans. This is just like normal for you. And he did not like my joke. And but we still had fun. We were there. The game kind of ground to a halt in like the fifth, which was great. So we got to walk around the ballpark and get some food, and Jason's eating fried squid, and we're drinking random Korean microbrews. And but KBO games are amazing, man. Busan's team has really struggled this year. They're in last place in the 10-team league, and it's a midweek game. Midweek games already don't draw that well here compared to the weekend games. But there's 8,000, 10,000 people there, and it is still a party. I mean, I posted a video on Twitter of a pitching change in the sixth inning. Busan was down 8-0. It's a midweek game for a last place team, and they're doing songs and they're doing chants and they're jumping up and down. They got coordinated dances and everything. It's a pretty incredible experience. And so when Jason and I go to Seoul next week, Sungmin told us that he'll take us around to some of the ballparks in that area. The KBO is 10 teams. 5 of them are in the Seoul metropolitan area. So we'll get a chance to catch hopefully 2 or 3 games when we're out there. And yeah, man, it has been fun. They're getting down toward the end. I think the playoffs start in a couple weeks in the KBO. But it is, if you ever have a chance, if you're ever over here, anybody who's tuned in, if you're here, if you're in Japan, wherever you are, Taiwan with the Chinese Professional Baseball League there, these games over here are incredible. Everywhere outside of the U.S. is a different fan experience, and it is a ton of fun.
Yeah, I really like that video you posted, just because you like you said, there's dancing going on, and you go to any major league stadium and they're trying to do something even when the team is down 8-0, but at least everybody was participating.
Yes.
It wasn't just like, blank behind the eyes and, oh, we need to do this because whatever. Everybody was still into it, which I love.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. They all have, I wish I could remember some of the chants now. There are a decent amount of import players of American guys who are on KBO rosters. They're limited, I think, to 3 per roster. But Jacob Wilson was the first baseman for the Lotte team last night. Jacob Wilson, who was formerly a member, originally drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals, formerly a member most recently of the Washington Nationals organization. He's over here. He actually started this season with the Nationals. He was in Fresno to start the year this year. He played 55 games there, and now he's over here. But they've got, like a chant with Jacob Wilson's name in it and a song for Jacob Wilson, and it's pretty amazing. Brock Dykeshorn is over here. He pitches for Lotte.
One of the best names in baseball, Brock Dykeshorn.
Yeah. Brooks Raley started that game last night for Lotte against Ben Lively, who is now over here, who was pitching for the Samsung Lions. So it's pretty random. Actually, Sungmin posted a picture on Twitter that I was in, and a couple minutes later, he gets a text message that says, "Hey, tell Tyler Mon I say hi," and it's from a pitcher named Chad Bell, who I worked with the Myrtle Beach Pelicans in 2011. And Chad is over here now, pitching for the Hanwha Eagles. He's been in the big leagues, pitched for the Tigers for a short time, and got injured, if I remember correctly. I think Chad had Tommy John surgery, so he ended up over here. He has pitched extremely well. He was with the Tigers just as of 2017, 2018, it looks like. And it had Tommy John surgery prior to that. Comes over here. He's been fantastic this year for Hanwha. This season, he's got a 3.88 ERA, which is pretty dang good in the KBO, which shares a lot of similarities, I think, to, like 2019 AAA baseball. So that was kind of random, like just these dudes who turn on the TV one night and Joe Wieland is pitching. I used to ride a bus around with both Chad Bell and Joe Wieland. Random guys Jared Hoying is over here, who was on that same team. Apparently what I'm saying is the entire 2011 Myrtle Beach Pelicans roster is playing in Korea. That's what I'm driving at. So now we know.
There we go.
So anyway, let's get started on this week's episode of the show before the show, as it has been a packed week all across the minor leagues, and the postseason has arrived. We've already seen a champion crown. Congratulations to the Johnson City Cardinals, who won their 5th Appy League title. The AAA playoffs have started. No one can kill the Durham Bulls. The zombie postseason team will never go away. The Durham Bulls are back in, and the AAA International League and Pacific Coast League getting things started. AAA playoffs are always super fun. They're also very interesting because they involve players who, if not pushing for postseason berths and postseason rings, could be up at the major league level. But what do you see? Right now we've got 2 PCL semifinal series between Iowa and Round Rock on one side, Las Vegas and Sacramento on the other, and 2 Governor's Cup semifinal series, one between Scranton, Wilkesboro, and Durham, and the other one between Columbus and Gwinnett. Give us some AAA thoughts as we kick off Strike One this week, Sam.
Yeah, so we're going to kind of turn this into a prediction segment because we don't normally predict division winners, or we don't try to look at it like that because it doesn't usually matter, but it's the playoffs. We might have a little bit of fun. But before I get into predictions, let me just give a quick shout out to the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, because the way they punched their ticket to the playoffs was insane. They ended up tying with Syracuse for the IL North. I think we talked about that last week. That race was getting crazy. It was a game 141. They had to have a tiebreaker game. That they didn't go to other tiebreakers. They literally played another game in Scranton this week. Scranton wins that game 14-13 after going down, I think 6-0. They were down again later in the game. They had to score 8 runs in the 8th inning. Absolutely insane game. Read the recap on that, and we have a bunch of highlights from that game as well. So Scranton Wilkes-Barre punching their ticket to the IL playoffs was really fun to watch. But for a team coming out of the IL, as it stands right now, we've got Columbus against Gwinnett in one series and Durham against Scranton Wilkes-Barre, as Tyler mentioned, in the other. I think I like this Gwinnett team most, in part for the obvious reasons. They brought up Christian Pache, they brought up Drew Waters in August, they brought up Ian Anderson in August, and those guys have had mixed results so far, I would say. But especially Ian Anderson has struggled a little bit. Pache is catching fire there at the end of the year. But they also have a good mix of veteran talent, and not even veteran talent, but like major league ready talent. Adam Duvall is their starting left fielder. The guy was an all-star a couple of years ago. Right now, and then you got Pache in one of the other outfield spots. You got Waters in the other one. Either one is capable of playing center field. It's just whoever they decide to play there. The other one gets moved to right. But right now, they're actually playing Austin Riley in right field because he's rehabbing. Austin Riley, remember at the beginning of the year, was one of the top prospects in the Braves system, graduated because his bat was so hot that they moved him to the outfield, found a spot for him at Atlanta. He's rehabbing now. In another universe, he's still with the team because he's only 22 years old. Now he feels like not a has-been, but somebody who's done this before. But still having his bat in the lineup here for at least some part of the IL playoffs is going to be huge. When he leaves, you replace him with Waters or Pache. Last night in Game 1 against Columbus, it was Pache who had the night off. He came in as a pinch runner. That's a really good weapon to have off the bench. As we talked about before, the Braves system is particularly loaded with pitching, but especially at the upper levels. They started Tucker Davidson last night. Didn't quite work out. So I'm kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit because Gwinnett is already down 1-0 in the division series. But I think there's a lot of talent here for them to get out of that league and potentially break Durham's streak. The reason why I'm not picking Durham is I think they've called up too much of the talent, which is fine. You want them in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is going for a wild card spot right now. But when you lose a Nate Lowe, they're about to lose Kian Wong finally after Kian Wong has been in AAA for far too long. And they're just slowly getting stripped to pieces. I don't know if they can outlast a Gwinnett who has all this talent, who's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. Over in the PCL, kind of for similar reasons, I'm taking the Las Vegas Aviators. The Aviators actually won their first game against Sacramento. They won 9-3. One reason I like them over Sacramento and over potentially Iowa or Round Rock. Round Rock, obviously a loaded team all season long coming in that Astros system. They lose Kyle Tucker. I think their best player right now is maybe Miles Straw. But otherwise, Abraham Toro's not there anymore. They are getting Forrest Whitley, but you don't know what Forrest Whitley you're going to get since he's come off shoulder problems and ineffectiveness all year long. Las Vegas, yes, they lost Seth Brown, who was their best hitter all year long and is doing incredibly well with the A's now. But look at the guys who are left. You got Jorge Mateo and Dustin Fowler at the top of that lineup right now. Those two guys were top 100 prospects not that long ago. And then they've got Jesus Luzardo scheduled to pitch Game 3. They're already up 1-0 against Sacramento. You get to Game 3, and Luzardo has looked really good in AAA as he continues to come back from injury. It seems it's very easy to see a road out of the division series for the Aviators, and this is a team that all year long was really good. They finished with an 83-57 record. That was only one game behind Round Rock for the best record in the PCL. Didn't lose enough for me to think that they can't keep this rolling in the postseason. And if they continue to get starts from Luzardo the further they get into the playoffs, I think that could be huge. Hopefully Luzardo makes the A's at some point because the A's could use his arm in some capacity. But right now, my prediction for the AAA National Championship game this year in Memphis would be Las Vegas against Gwinnett, and that would be really fascinating to see that mix of veteran and young talent kind of come together.
I'm telling you, man, Durham Bulls, nobody can kill them.
I know. I feel like an idiot for not predicting the Durham Bulls because every time we do this, I think last year, though, we predicted Durham against Memphis. I want to say we did.
You're right.
Because that was a repeat of 2017. And it was just like, why can't this happen again? And it did. But Memphis is out this year. They missed the playoffs by 6 games, actually finished below 500. And Durham, I think the Rays are taking too many pieces away. But, they've proved me wrong in the past, so let's see if they can do it again.
Strike 2 this week as we move along in this post-Labor Day episode of the show before the show. Gavin Lux, the Los Angeles Dodgers top prospect, has arrived at the major league level. There was so much discussion this season of like, oh man, when are they going to call Gavin Lux up? Are they going to call Gavin Lux up? But the rich get richer with the Dodgers adding one of the hottest prospects in all of baseball. Lux already has torched Double-A pitching this year. He obliterated Triple-A pitching. He OPS'd 1197 in 49 games at Triple-A. And now he's up at the major league level. The Gavin Lux news arriving this week, Sam, for Strike 2.
Yeah, Gavin Lux coming up was really exciting. Not because, we knew it should happen. That's what I should say. It's not because it was surprising. It should have happened. I loved what the Dodgers did. They kind of followed him around on social media and just they showed him getting his first jersey and finding out what his number is, and they showed him going into Dave Roberts' office for the first time, and Roberts kind of giving him a little bit of slack for saying like, why didn't you come up sooner, and then laughing about it because they both understand the situation. But he is up, and that's something that the Dodgers deserve credit for. And not only is he up, they are finding playing time for him. He's played 3 games so far, all at second base. That's not his natural position. He is a shortstop. But he's not going to knock Corey Seager off right now anyway. But to see a guy rewarded after hitting 392 at AAA with a 1.197 OPS, 13 homers in 49 games, when he started there, it seemed like it was never going to stop, and it never really did. That's the thing is he had some cold spots here and there, but hitting 392 over essentially a half a season at the minors top level, if that doesn't earn a major league call-up, then what are we doing here? So to see him rewarded in that way is really exciting, and to see him plugged right into that lineup. I think he batted leadoff recently as well. So I questioned when his major league debut he batted 8th, and I was like, come on, like we know the guy's a better hitter than that. And Dave Roberts did know that, and is giving him his chances now. In terms of what kind of player can Gavin Lux be, I mean, the bat's certainly going to play there right away. He finished with 26 homers this year between Double-A and Triple-A. Yes, part of that is playing with the new AAA ball. I get that, but he was doing things that nobody was doing at AAA this season, and doing them at age 21. Can he hold this down for the entire month? I think they're going to give him a lot of leadway. The Dodgers aren't really being threatened right now for the loss of a playoff spot, We'll see if he can be their playoff second baseman. If he's not, okay, well, he knows what the major leagues is like now, especially after it sounded like they were saying they were going to call him, or they were going to bring him to the majors but not make him active. That just seemed like such a bizarre strategy. So to actually give him this chance now is really cool. And, seeing what he can do from the left side of the plate will be interesting, how he makes those adjustments. We saw him make them pretty much throughout his entire career. We had him, on the podcast back in January. I tweeted out the link when he started, and it's crazy to think, when we talked to him, we were talking about a 2018 breakout and the adjustments he made after a rough 2017. So even if he gets off to a slow start here, I'm not worried about him figuring out how his game works against major league pitching and seeing what he can do. Worst comes to worst, he's still going to be one of the most exciting young players going into the offseason. But I do think the skills are there for him to really make an impact for a Dodgers team that is probably the World Series favorites right now.
And strike three this week. Gavin Lux gets the call, but some other guys will not. Who is not going to be coming up in September?
Yeah, this is kind of upsetting because it sounds like some clubs have officially gone on the record and saying, like, don't expect these guys to get here. That's one thing about September is, we have a lot of questions going in, and they get confirmed when guys come up, and then sometimes the organization outright says, hey, this guy's not coming here. Two of them belong to the Chicago White Sox system, with Rick Hahn, GM of the White Sox, expressly saying, like, hey, Luis Robert and Nick Madrigal aren't coming up. The reason he gave is that both guys played 3 levels in the minor leagues. And here's the exact quote I want to give about Rick Hahn on Luis Robert. Surpassed development goals, stayed healthy, performed at 3 levels. Instead of adding a 4th level and increasing games, as much fun as it would have been to see him continue, sometimes it's our job to say this is enough, which just feels like an excuse. Like, hey, this guy has performed everywhere he's gone. We don't want to challenge him again. It's like, but Luis Robert has done well everywhere he's played this year. His lowest OPS for a club was 880 at AA. At AAA, you want to talk about Gavin Lux knocking down the door. Luis Robert played 47 games for AAA Charlotte this year. Hit 297, 341, 634. So had a 974 OPS, 16 homers in 48 games. That's a homer every 3 games, basically. He had a 30-30 season across all 3 levels, 32 homers, 36 stolen bases. I know he's had health problems in the past, so just getting him to a place of playing 122 games is great. But if he's not proving himself at the AAA level, I don't know who can, basically. He's not like a Ryan Mountcastle, who's somebody else I want to mention here in a little bit. Mountcastle has defensive questions all over the place. Is he going to be an outfielder? Is he going to be a first baseman? He was at one point a shortstop and a third baseman. Didn't work out there. He has some legit defensive issues to work out. Robert doesn't have that. He has real 5-tool potential. Speed, power, hit tool, defense, arm, the whole thing. He doesn't have anything else to prove. This feels like something with Eloy Jimenez last year. Yes, they brought him up and made it work, but I would have liked to at least see Robert get a chance to prove himself. Kind of in a similar way with Nick Madrigal. Nick Madrigal I have more questions about, just because where is the power going to be? He hit 4 homers this year, but his contact rate is elite. He struck out only 16 times in 473 at-bats. Crazy stuff. Hit 311 across all 3 levels, but actually got better as the season went on. Hit 341 at Birmingham, 331 at AAA Charlotte. This guy just might have one of the best hit tools in the game. Power's not necessarily there, but the speed is. He's got 35 stolen bases. Just really unique in terms of how his skill set works. We'd love to see how that would work against Major League pitching right now. He's a second baseman. Yoan Moncada seems like he's moved over to third base permanently. Madrigal could fit in that Chicago lineup right away. It's kind of unfortunate. Only 29 games, so a little bit fewer than Robert, but still, I think he would have no problem making tons of contact against Major League pitching and at least getting his feet wet for a potential bigger role in 2020. So upsetting that Hahn also confirmed Madrigal will not be joining, basically for those same reasons as Robert. They don't want to challenge him with a 4th level. Ryan Mountcastle, real quick, was legitimately named the IL MVP. We can debate whether he should have been, but still, he was the International League MVP. People who followed the International League closely believed he was the best player in that league this year. The Orioles still don't want to bring him up. They've said it's unlikely he'll be up in September, which is disappointing. The guy hit 312, 344, 527, spent all 127 games this year at AAA Norfolk, hit a career-high 25 home runs. Yes, grain of salt with the Major League Ball, or the Major League Ball coming to AAA and all that, but still, he's going to play with that same ball at Baltimore. Baltimore needs to see what it has, I would say, to try to figure out what it's going to be in 2020. Pushing this back to potentially get a year of control down the line, and they haven't said that explicitly, but when it's a rebuilding club like this, you always have to keep an eye on them keeping down prospects, potentially to delay the service time clock. It's just kind of upsetting because I would have liked to have seen what Mountcastle can do, and is he worthy of a big role in this rebuild, or is he just going to be a right-handed bat that they need to fill in around him, or can he be the centerpiece of this lineup with Adley Rutschman coming up pretty soon, and a lot of really up-and-coming pieces in that Orioles system. The Orioles system is better than it used to be. Mountcastle is a part of that for sure. But how big of a part we won't know until he can finally make his debut, and that's looking like it's going to be coming in spring of 2020 instead of the fall of 2019.
And that'll do it for Three Strikes on this week's episode of The Show Before the Show.
We're joined this week on the Minor League Baseball podcast by number 3 prospect in the Philly system, number 14 overall pick in this year's draft, Bryson Stott. Bryson, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for joining us. So you're just finishing up your first season, your first taste of minor league baseball. You spent most of it with Class A short season in Williamsport. Kind of take us where you are right now. Your first off season ever is just starting. Where are you in the process of coming down off the season?
I mean, I'm really just at home and just hanging out with some people that I haven't seen in a while, and just getting ready for Instructs. I leave to Instructs on Sunday, so Instructs will be a couple weeks, and then I'll be home for the off season.
And so what do you do during this downtime? I know you said you're at home, which for people who don't know, home for you is Las Vegas. What do you do during this time? Is it literally just dropping baseball, not thinking about it, knowing Instructs is coming, or how do you kind of spend these days?
I mean, the last 2 days I've just been hanging out, but I mean, I'll hit and throw and stuff the next couple of days to make sure I'm still in shape for Instructs this coming Monday.
And with Instructs right around the corner, did the Phillies give you any instructions on here's what we're going to be looking to work on you with, or anything like that going into that period?
Nope. I mean, I'm just going with the full intention to get my all-around game better in every aspect of it.
All right, so let's kind of go through what you have done so far this year. As I said, you spent most of it in the New York Penn League with Williamsport. You hit 274, 370, 446 with 5 homers and 22 walks in 44 games. A strong first start for you. What was your kind of most eye-opening part of minor league baseball and being a pro ball player every day?
I mean, I would say the most eye-opening part is how fast you could get into one of those slumps. I mean, in college, you have a bad week and you're 2 for 20, one for 15. But I mean, in pro ball with that playing every day and being an everyday player, you blink and you could be 1 for 40, 1 for 45. So I'd say the biggest thing I learned this season is how fast to get out of those slumps and what I need to do to get back on track.
So what is your kind of slump buster? What did you learn, and what kind of adjustments do you feel like you made as the season went on?
I mean, I'd say I just get back to the basics. I mean, I didn't change my swing, didn't change what I was doing. I was really just getting back to using the whole field. And I mean, I think I got that week and a half, 2 weeks where I was really struggling. I think I got too pull happy and stopped using the left side of the field. So just getting back to my game and using the whole field was really what got me out of it.
And coming into pro ball, there's going to be a lot of arms, and pretty much everybody you're seeing is new to you. But what did you notice about the way pitchers were throwing you as the season went on, and how they were attacking you and trying and like you said, you had to adjust back to using the whole field. But what did you notice about the way they were going after you there early on?
I'd say I'm being in professional baseball. I think the pitchers could command the inside of this part of the strike zone a lot better than the college arms I was facing. So they could come 96 miles an hour on the inside corner for a strike, and then drop a changeup on the outside corner. So just the way they command the whole plate was kind of eye opening to me at the start, and really, I think, like I said, when I was getting in trouble, I was trying to pull those outside off speed pitches, and instead of letting the ball dictate where it was. So I'd say the biggest difference between those arms is how well they command the inside part of the plate.
And one thing I wanted to bring up with you, we talked about New York Penn League a little bit here, but your first game was seemingly, at least according to the box score, as memorable as it could be in the GCL. According to the GCL, you had one at bat, one home run, one walk. Take us through that first day and what it was like going through that, and getting the first taste at the complex and doing so well so quickly like that.
I definitely had some nerves. I was there for a week or so, just practicing and getting back in shape. And then I finally got to play in the game, and my first at bat, I was kind of nervous. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew I was ready, but it's still your first at bat. It's like any first at bat, even in college, all my 3 years, my first at bat, I had those nerves. So, just being able to get a pitch up like I did and drive it was a real confidence booster, and it kind of let the nerves go away.
Yeah. Did you get the ball after that?
Yeah, a fan went and grabbed it. So that was pretty cool.
Okay, cool. So what did you do with it afterwards? Did you just send it home? Do you still have it? What happened to that ball?
It's in my bag. It's in my clothes bag that I'm going to take home. So I'm probably put it in a case and give it to my mom.
Oh, very cool. So this being your first season anyway, we touched on, you being a relatively high draft pick coming into the year. What was this spring like going into this? Because you weren't drafted out of high school. I'm sure part of that had to do with wanting to stay at home and wanting to go to UNLV. But what was it like going through this process and knowing your name was getting thrown around in the first round and then eventually hearing it called by the Phillies?
I didn't really look too much into that, because you really never know. Anything could happen. Something in the top of the draft could shake up and it could affect the whole thing. So, I wasn't really listening to all that outside stuff until it actually happened. So, draft day was awesome. I had every emotion. Had the nerves. I had the anxiety. I had everything going on. And when my name finally got called, it was one of the greatest moments of my life.
And let's talk about what went into that, because, you were pretty well known, UNLV. You played in the Cape in 2018. You were on Team USA as well. And then 2019, it looked like you popped up even more. Your OPS was above 1,000 for the first time. You hit 10 home runs, which was six more than you hit the year before, which was only 4. What allowed you to kind of take off this year, especially in the power department?
I'd say I just got more mature and more physical. I hit 30 doubles my sophomore year, but some of those doubles my junior year started getting that backspin and then just flying out. My swing didn't really change. I wasn't really trying to lift the ball. It was, like I said, just some of those doubles I was hitting off the wall my sophomore and even my freshman year. Got a little more backspin and a little more carry, and they just flew out.
And what were you doing to generate that backspin? Was it just physical maturation? Was it something you were changing to produce, get those doubles out of the gaps and over the fence? What allowed that process to happen?
I would say it's just being more physical. I spent a lot of time in the weight room in the fall and winter, and I got my legs and my core stronger to where I could generate that bat speed and have that torque along with my swing to generate some of those home runs.
And how do you feel like that kind of translated? I know you said you didn't change any part of your game coming into pro ball. When you first became a Philly, what did they talk to you about your game, and what did they say they liked most and thought would translate the best to the pro level?
I mean, they love my defense and how I play defense and in the multiple positions I could play. I mean, my swing, if they want to touch up some things, I mean, obviously it's their job and it's what they're paid to do. So, I mean, I'm all open for that. So, nothing really changed this season. So, going forward, I'm not really sure, but I think they like my swing.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting to hear you mention they liked your defense most. I think a lot of people like your swing, and then defense is something that's you've improved on, but you played a little bit of second base this year. You played a little bit of third base as well. How much do you expect to continue moving around, or have the Phillies said, hey, we want you to mostly stick it short because we like you there?
I mean, I think I played most of my games at short. I played probably a handful of games at second and third combined, but I mean, I'm very open to playing those different positions, and the more versatility you have is better for you and better for the organization, because you're not a roadblock in their progression to keep moving players and moving players around. So I think the more versatility you have is the better.
And one part of your offensive game I wanted to bring up as well is you had a really good walk rate in college. I think every year except for your freshman year, you had more walks than strikeouts, especially this junior year. You had 55 walks against only 39 strikeouts. That translated pretty well to the New York Penn League. You had a 370 OBP and 22 walks in 44 games, like I mentioned before. How do you develop that part of your game? You know, just having a good eye for the strike zone and good plate discipline, knowing to lay off pitches outside the zone.
Just know, I mean, you got to just trust my biggest thing is just trusting the people hitting behind you to do their job and bring you in. My junior year in college, I hit first. So, I mean, there were some games that I just got flat out pitched around to start the game, and just having people behind me knowing that they're going to do their job. And it really helped me not swing at those changeups 2-0 or 3-0 and getting myself out. So, just kind of knowing who's behind you and what the team's doing, and if there's bases open and stuff like that to play into your factor.
And now that you are part of the Phillies organization, you've spent a couple months in there. How would you kind of describe the Phillies, player development philosophy? How do you feel like you've plugged into that and what they're looking to do into creating you into a future major league player?
I think I fit in good. I mean, me and the hitting coordinators get along well, and same with the defensive coordinators and all the coordinators. I mean, they're awesome. They have the best interest for all the kids and all the players in the organization. So, I mean, just having us follow their lead, and they know what they're doing. This is what they get paid to do, and get us to that major league level, like you said. So. Just buying into everything they're saying and kind of taking all their information in is key for me.
And what's one piece of information you feel like has been the most helpful this summer?
I'd say on the hitting part is just doing damage with the strikes that we're getting instead of, you get 2-0, you get into that hitter's count, and the last thing you want to do is foul one off. I mean, for me, lefty, so fouling off to left field or behind the third base dugout. When you get those pitches, you really can't miss them because you don't know if you're going to get them again. So, really doing damage with the pitches that you should do damage with was my biggest thing.
And I mentioned before your time with Team USA, you played on the collegiate national team. What is your best memory of that? Because usually those are surrounded by guys who get taken pretty high, and you're around some of the best talent you'll ever be around on any baseball diamond. What do you particularly remember from that experience?
I mean, the overall experience was awesome. I mean, I'll never forget that. I'd say the best thing was the friendships that we've made with each other. I mean, you got Rutschman and you got Vaughn, Shoemake and Young and all those guys that you see go really high. And I mean, you created some of your best friendships with those guys in that 3.5 weeks that we were all together. So just playing other countries and with our country across our chest and just having so much fun with those guys was probably the biggest thing that I'll take away.
And what's something that rubbed off on you that you saw from another guy during that time. Like you said, it was only 3 weeks, but it's an influential 3 weeks. What's something you remember about that you still put into your game now?
Just the way everyone goes about their business. I mean, it was never. I mean, we always had fun, but when it was business, it was business. So, just the overall way that we all handled the games and how we went about our business, knowing if you go 0-4, that the guy behind you is going to pick you up and stuff like that. It's just relying on them and how we all kind of meshed and went about the game.
And was that the moment? Being on Team USA, I know you were also at Wareham in the Cape League as well, and UNLV numbers were pretty good as a sophomore and freshman. But was it that Team USA moment where you thought, like, hey, I'm really close to being a first-round pick, or was there some other time in your college career where you noticed, hey, this could be my profession going forward?
I'd say Team USA was probably a big one. Just knowing these are the kids that I wouldn't say competing against, but the kids that are in the first round talk and how well you played with them and around them was a big thing for me to see where, I mean, my skill set matched up to some of those. I mean, you got those big Power 5 schools in there and then you seeing how well you match up with them. So I'd say that was a big one, and just playing and doing what I did in my 3 years in college and summer ball was, I'd say that was my biggest thing.
And it's interesting to hear you talk about, measuring yourself up against those guys. Wherever you're going to go from then on, even then you're on the same team, obviously. And this is something that translates to the minors. You're on the same team, but these are guys you're trying to, beat out sometimes for jobs or something, or trying to get ahead of on the depth chart. How do you kind of quiet that, and how do you marry those two concepts of, hey, these are guys I'm competing with, and but also we're on the same team, we're having the same goals, we're trying to win this ball game. How do you kind of marry those two concepts?
I'd say nobody was really out to hope someone didn't do good just so they got their time and stuff like that. I'd say we were all just. I rooted for everyone on the team, and I wanted everyone to do good. And the whole team was like that. Everybody wanted to see each other get their name called in the draft, whether it be the first round or the 40th. You wanted to see their name get called, and you wanted their future to be bright. So, I'd say we were never, me personally, I was never rooting against somebody. And I feel that's the same for the rest of the team.
How much do you still stay in contact with all those guys? Is there like a big group text chain or something like that, or something on WhatsApp that you guys are staying in contact with? How does that group stay together?
Yeah, we have a couple of group chats with some of the guys. I stay in touch with a lot of the position players. I'll stay in touch with like a couple of the pitchers, but if we ever need anything or need advice on hitting or fielding, everyone's one call away, so it's no biggie. Very cool.
Well, one thing we mentioned too is that you are a Vegas native. You went to UNLV. I feel like Vegas, the last couple of years, has almost become a center of baseball between Joey Gallo, Bryce Harper, obviously, Chris Bryant, so many stars coming out of that. What kind of effect has that had on the region and the popularity of baseball around Vegas?
I'd say it's big. There's a lot of talent in Vegas, and sometimes the kids will get overlooked, and they know that, but we still go out, and they'll still go out and they'll play their game and know that they're in a kind of a hotbed of baseball. So they always go to those tournaments in California and Arizona and Texas, and all those big schools are out there, and they won't get missed if they're playing well. So it's kind of, like you said, it's kind of been a baseball hotbed the last couple of years. So to keep that going and keep the baseball culture in Vegas is awesome.
Yeah, and why do you think that hotbed has developed? It's a cliche to say what's in the water, but what's allowed this to bloom in the way it has? Do you think?
I'd say it's just the ability to play for 12 months. You're never snowed in or something like that. You always have access to the field. It might be a little cold, but you always have access to the fields and you can always be outside. So I'd just say that the 12 months of baseball is, I mean, if the kid loves it, he'll be out there all 12 months and perfecting his game. And I think that's a big reason for the hotbed.
And you mentioned before, too, how kids might feel overlooked by others in California or Texas or Florida. Was that something you felt coming out of high school and going to UNLV, that you had maybe had been overlooked, at least by the pro ranks, or were you not even thinking about the pros coming out of high school?
I mean, the pros wasn't really on my, I mean, obviously it's always a dream, but it wasn't, I mean, I didn't really think it was that big of a reality until probably my senior year. There was a couple scouts here and there, but it wasn't, I mean, I pretty much was set on college and knew I was going to college. So it wasn't really in, I would say, like a reality, I would say, from my thought process, my first couple of years in high school. The college thing, I don't think I was overlooked. I talked to a lot of schools, and I mean, I just saw the program and what UNLV had to offer, and I mean, it was right in my backyard, so I couldn't beat it.
All right. Well, we'll end on these ones. You are now a Philadelphia Philly. You haven't reached Philadelphia yet, and that could come down the line in the next couple of years. But what did you know about the actual city of Philadelphia, the sports culture there? What did you know about it before the Phillies called your name?
That their fan base is huge. They're very big sports fans. I mean, they're not those fake fans that are just acting fans. They genuinely care about the teams and the players on those teams. So, I mean, I knew that going in, and the cheesesteaks obviously was my thing from the city of Philadelphia. So, those are my two biggest things.
And what have you learned since? I mean, that's everybody knows about, throwing snowballs at Santa and, like you said, cheesesteaks and all that. But now that you've been part of the organization, you've gotten a chance to go to Philly. What have you learned about the culture since?
I mean, I just learned more about how genuine the fans how much they actually care about you and the team itself. They're real baseball fans, and they really want you to win and want the best for you. So, I mean, they're awesome. I mean, you can't beat that, and how those people feel about their team, and going forward, it should be pretty cool.
All right, so we'll end on this one. I work with a Phillies fanatic. I don't even know if I'll call him fanatic, but a Philly area native, big Phillies fan, Benjamin Hill, who's also on this podcast in another segment. And I asked him, what should I ask a Phillies prospect? And he came up with this question, so I'm going to pass it off on him. But he said, what is your favorite Rocky movie?
Oh, my favorite Rocky movie. I'd say, I mean, you got to be the first one. The first one is, I mean, I like all the firsts in every movie, so I'm going to go with the first one.
Okay, that's funny you say that, because he actually asked, which is your favorite sequel, because so many people say that the first one. So I'm not going to let you chicken out so easy. Which of the sequels do you like the most?
Oof. The sequel. Oh man, this is a tough one. This is a good question. Probably Rocky. I'm gonna go with 2. Rocky 2.
Okay, that's a fair answer. No, Rocky 2 is a fair. I would anything but Rocky 5. I think you would be okay with. Even if you said Rocky Balboa, that 6th one they made a couple years ago, you'd still be on a good track. But all right, very cool. Well, I think a lot of Phillies fans are going to feel a little bit closer to you now, knowing which of your Rocky preferences. But Bryson Stott, Thank you so much for joining us this week. All the best going forward into Instructs next week, and best of luck going into the off season.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Back in I don't want to call it a studio, because it's definitely the office, and we're not even in a conference room today.
No, I'd call it a nook.
A nook. We are in a nook. Back in the nook is Ben's Biz, Benjamin Hill. Welcome back from the road. How are you?
It's great to be back from the road, and I'm back from all my 2019 season travels. The season's over, so I have nowhere else to go. of course, I'll be in El Paso at the end of the month for the Innovator Summit, the rebranded promo seminar. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Not today. I mean, later on in our lives.
Yeah, right. We're not going to preview the Innovator Summit quite yet. That's for a future podcast. But we do have you back, and you were just on the road in both Potomac and Hagerstown, as we talked about last week. Now that you got a little bit more time to reflect, we're going to talk mostly about Potomac this week. And you were there, as we discussed last time, for the closing of the Fitz. What was the adjective we used last week?
For the Fitz?
Yeah.
Venerable?
Venerable.
Yeah.
One of the most venerable minor league parks.
I refer to it as venerable in this feature story.
We're going to make that stick by the end of this. But you do have a story out today, so by the time everybody's hearing this, you can go check it out on the site, about the closing of the Fitz, and it's called On the Road, A Fond Farewell to the Fitz. Having spoken to people around the situation with Potomac, what were you able to put together for this story?
Well, I mean, I think as we talked about last week, and if you do follow the minor league landscape at all, you already know this. Fitzner Stadium, the home of the Potomac Nationals, located in Woodbridge, Virginia, Prince William County. The stadium's not super old. It was built in 1984. Certainly not new, but it's not one of those, historic stadiums. But for years, the team has been trying to find a new facility to move to, and for good reason. I mean, I've heard the Fitz referred to as a glorified high school stadium, and that's really not too far off the mark. You have a small grandstand, a lot of bleacher seating on the first and third base side, a small concourse, behind the grandstand. Pretty much none of the amenities you'd expect from a current modern-day facility, both for fans and players alike. The team tried to stay in Prince William County. There were a lot of efforts to that end. They couldn't ever make anything work out with that, and finally ended up striking a deal with Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is about 30 miles south of where they're currently playing, where the Fitz is. 30 miles is not too far away. I talked to fans who are from Fredericksburg, not really with that being the angle, but they just happen to be fans from Fredericksburg who happen to go to games at the Fitz. So it's not the sort of relocation that's completely prohibitive in terms of remaining a fan of the team. But that said, if you're familiar with the area, 30 miles in that part of Virginia on 95 with the traffic around there is a lot. It's equivalent to 60 or 70 miles in other parts of the country. So, there are some fans who are saying, maybe I'll go on the weekends, but I'm really sad to see this place go. And even if they're from Fredericksburg, or even if, they're just psyched for Fredericksburg, for fans who've been coming there a long time, it's sad to say goodbye. And that was the angle of my story. I think it's very easy for us, just collectively us, minor league observers, to just see these old stadiums and just be like, oh, good riddance to that. I know our colleague Tyler, as a former Carolina League broadcaster, has his own stories from the Fitz and opinions on it, and he probably would say good riddance, I would imagine. I do not want to speak for Tyler. He speaks for himself.
Yeah, right.
But, it's the kind of place that doesn't have a great reputation, but my angle with these things is always, regardless, 36 seasons, how many thousands of games, how many memories, how many people who made a habit over the decades, generationally, going to this place. And that's what I focus on in the story. And I just talked to some fans who are, sad to see it go. And, as I mentioned in the story, there wasn't anger. It wasn't this feeling of like, oh, we're being abandoned. And I think most fans are realists, and they understand that this is not a viable long-term situation and hadn't been. It's a topic we'll get into well in the future, but the professional baseball agreement expires at the end of 2020, which is the agreement between minor and Major League Baseball that dictates a lot of things. But among them, the number of PDCs, player development contracts, and affiliations. And it's certainly important for minor league baseball to kind of get the quote-unquote problem facilities out of the way as much as possible for the renewal of this agreement to show as strong an overall landscape as possible. So, it's not just good for this particular franchise. It's good for all of minor league baseball to get out of a stadium like the Fitz. But nonetheless, I felt compelled to be there and kind of put a little bow on it and get a little, not emotional, but talk to people who this meant something to them. And I like those kind of fans. And I'd like to think that if my life was completely different, I'd be the sort of person who would be a regular at a ballpark like the Fitz. I relate to it. I like the dumps. I quote a guy who said, it might be a dump, but it's our dump. And I relate to that sentiment in life. I feel like I've been a patron of a lot of dumps through the years, and I like that mentality.
Well, I mean, even dumps or not, you talked about the Fredericksburg fans in here and going through the story, and these parks are just places of memories. And somebody talked about how Garen Cicchini just flipped a ball to his daughter, and his daughter became a baseball fan for life because of that. I mean, when these parks close, regardless of quality, it's when entire chapters of people's lives kind of go to the wayside as well. So I like when you kind of bring that perspective on the ground of what we're losing in these parks. As exciting as it will be to open up a new stadium and a more modern one for sure in Fredericksburg, things get left behind, and that's what this story is kind of a reminder of. Speaking of kind of the history of the Potomac Nationals and the legacy of the Potomac Nationals during their time in Woodbridge, one of the most fascinating things that they always do is just really unique bobbleheads. You did a story on this as well. What can you kind of tell us about that legacy of Potomac?
Yeah, this is basically another Potomac story I wrote, the supplement to the farewell story. This came up on the site on Monday, a holiday. You might have missed it, but it's still there on the internet.
Yeah,
the internet is forever. I was talking to the team's general manager, Brian Holland, in his office, and I was kind of compelled to do the story because as we were talking, just kind of big picture about the end of the stadium, I'm just looking at this cabinet on his to the right of his desk that is just chock-a-block with these crazy bobbleheads that the team has given away, especially over the last 5 or 6 years. And that kind of spun off into a whole separate conversation, and I wrote a story about it. And I think the mentality there is, Brian says, we're one of the have-nots, and he uses the David and Goliath metaphor and says, we are a David in this situation. We're not a big giant that has all the resources and the ability to, well, not crush, kill, and destroy like Goliath might have, but you know what I mean. Like, you don't have the resources to blow things out, and you don't have the amenities of the stadium that just make going to a game, the stadium itself being an impetus to just go to a game. So as a team kind of struggling in a definitely older, bit dilapidated ballpark. It's not really right off 95. It's a strange location in this Prince William County, office park, full of like government buildings. They just went out of their way through the years, especially the last 5 or 6 years, to really blow out their theme nights. And they had this particular strain of promotions, a lot of crazy bobbleheads in general, but starting with the Roger Bernardina Shark Arene. If you remember Roger Bernardina, he was known as the Shark, and that led to this idea to do not a bobblehead, but a figurine where Roger Bernardina was half man, half shark. And that sort of spun off into this whole subcategory of bobbleheads the team did through the years of combining animals and men into very strange hybrid beasts in bobblehead form or figurine form. I mean, you had Jason Wolf as a wolf man, or Jason Worth as a wolf man. Right. Jason Wolf as a Worth man. whatever you want to say. You had Anthony Rendon, Ant-Man, half man, half ant. You
Bryce
had
Harper gobblehead for reasons that befuddle me.
Well, they decided, he talked about that, how, and this is the case in so much of minor league baseball front offices, things that start off as a joke, the idea still gets filed away and then it becomes reality. They gave away a Bryce Harper gobblehead where Harper is half man, half turkey, and that was part of a Fitzgiving promotion where they had like a full Thanksgiving dinner in the summer and gave away a Bryce Harper turkey bobblehead. Wilson Ramos, Bufferine, and he's already known as the Buffalo, so there is a Wilson Ramos, half man, half Buffalo, and on it went. And it wasn't just half man, half beast figurines and bobbleheads. He talks about how they went nuts on their Seinfeld night, and there's a Frank Costanza Festivus Pole bobblehead, Carter Keyboom, Ghostbusters bobblehead, all these strange mashups of pop culture and baseball. And it's something that the Potomac Nationals really, made a name for themselves for, largely as a result of working in a difficult location, really trying to be creative and outside the box and having, at least several nights a year that drew really big crowds on the strength of these theme nights and bobblehead and figurine giveaways. And, I asked him, like, well, you're going to this new ballpark. The dynamic is going to be completely different. Do you think you're still going to have this promo mentality? And he said, I demand that it does. It must. It's too special not to. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in Fredericksburg. And, of course, the kind of awkward asterisk with all this Fitzner Stadium talk is that the real construction process, they did a groundbreaking for the Fredericksburg ballpark way back in February, but construction didn't really in earnest begin till this summer, just a couple months ago. So it's given the timelines we've seen in recent years with new ballparks, it seems very optimistic to think this new ballpark in Fredericksburg will be ready by opening day. So it's a little awkward to write all these farewell to the Fitz stories and then be like, oh, yeah, they might be back in April. They are going to have a lease on the Fitz through 2020 as a contingency plan. But I said, why not? This is the official ending. It's the end of the season. It's truly the end of an era. If the team does come back next year, they're not going to do anything in the Fitz except just host the games. It's going to be as bare bones an operation as it can be. So this is really a goodbye to, officially having baseball at the Fitz, even if it does come back for some ragtag homestands at the beginning part of next season while they're waiting for the new ballpark. But I'm excited to see what they do in Fredericksburg. And, it's going to be basically the same market, but they'll finally be operating in a stadium that is, 21st century in modern day.
And I don't think you get into this in the story, but when you have something like this, with you have to put Carter Kieboom in a Ghostbusters uniform, or Roger Bernardina make him into a half shark, do you have to get the players' permission? How do you go through that?
He
from
said
that side? With
player stuff, they always did their best to get a player's permission, and because they're a Nationals affiliate, and these were almost all Nationals players, they already had kind of an in terms of getting in touch with the players, and they might have been, most of them were Potomac alumni. So he said, we always try to get the permission, but there is, and I'm not just speaking for Potomac here, but just in minor league baseball, there is a little bit of a, let's just try to, let's just do this and hope it's okay. Hope no one notices. Hope the intellectual properties involved here or the people involved are okay with it. It can be a little loose sometimes, but yes, they and he was talking. He does talk about that, or maybe I didn't put it in the story, but he did go into that and talking to Trey Turner. There was a Trey Turner Road Runner bobblehead, and talking to Trey about it, and sending him boxes of bobbleheads, and I think these guys for the most part are on board with it for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. And also, I don't know if we mentioned it, but the ode to Tommy John surgery. It wasn't just a salute to Tommy John the pitcher. It was literally the surgery. It was the bobble. It wasn't even a bobble elbow.
Yeah, you called it a figurine,
yeah.
And it shows half of a pitcher's torso. The pitcher is gripping a ball in his right hand, and the portion of his elbow is exposed where the surgery actually is done. And this figurine features a removable UCL ligament. So, big respect to the Potomac Nationals for doing this kind of crazy stuff and, getting away with it and creating some excitement on the promotional nights, within a situation where it was sometimes hard to draw big crowds, especially in the later years.
Right. I'm glad to read in your story that they demand that this continues in Fredericksburg because this is too cool and too fun to just leave behind in Woodbridge. Ben, I'm sure we'll be talking more about Hagerstown and upcoming trips and or past trips next week. But yeah, thanks for coming back and being back in the Nook, as it were. And we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, sounds good. It's good to be back. It's always strange at this time of year to be like, wait, the season's over? I mean, we still got the playoffs. Talking about going to the Cyclones game tonight. I think I'm going to go to the Cyclones game tonight as a fan and enjoy it as much as I can. But yeah, the official travel season is over. Still got some stuff in the can. We'll talk about Hagerstown next week, and then I'll have some odds and ends certainly throughout September and October, and keep that in-season spirit going as long as I can because it's so hard to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Final segment of this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. My big thanks, as always, to Sam for taking the lead on everything. When I go to, well, not next week's episode, but the episode the week after next, I'll be a little bit closer time zone-wise, so that should help some things.
That should help things for us. I don't think people on the other end are going to notice that much of a difference.
That's true.
Other than maybe the episode won't come up on Saturday. But it'll be the off season and things will be so much quieter here. We could record on Tuesday if we really wanted to.
True.
But we'll figure that out on down the line.
We'll get it all sorted. And a big thanks to you for tuning in this week to the show before the show. MILB.TV is the place where you can catch all of the minor league baseball postseason action from .TV leagues. And you can sign up and catch the last couple of weeks of the minor league season right before the Arizona Fall League starts, just a couple of weeks from now. I know Darren Smith is thrilled. And that'll do it for Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Maughan. We'll talk to you next week.